All right, so today I want to talk about Zutara. Okay, so this is. Oh, let me get the brush. Okay, so this is the last. Avatar, the last Airbender. Right, Avatar, the last Airbender. Um, and then Zutara is obviously Zuko. I don't know if that's how you spell it. Katara. Is it? Is it double T? I don't know. I don't think it is. Well, whatever. Zuko and Katara, they take this and then that, which makes Zutara, right? So it's a ship, right? That's what they call it, which is short for relationships. And I want to talk about Zutara because it is a perfect example of the black pill, okay? So, um, canonically, right? So, based off of the writer's wishes, what happens at the end is that we see what do they call it? Katang? Is that what they call it? Which is Katara and Aang, right? Because at the end they both kiss, and it's understood that they're going to end up being together. And I think in Legend of Korra it shows that they did have children together. Um, and a lot of women think that Katang is too bland, it's boring, it's too safe. And then Zutara, the reason why they like it, although they don't want to admit it, is because of the looks. It's high drama, highs and lows. Also, it's a little bit toxic, and it's more. Um, it's using the enemies to lovers trope. Okay, which again, it's so stupid because women base it off of media, right? And not they don't stop and think, oh, okay, if I was in Katara's situation, which would be better, right? Which would be more healthy? What relationship at the end of the day? Who actually likes me, right? But anyway, first let me talk about why I think uh, why I say that Sutara is black pill, right? Because obviously, you see this a lot in the comments, is that women will go above and beyond for no reason at all out of their way trying to say that, oh, it's not about the physical, it's not the physicality, it's not about the looks. That's the beautiful thing about Zutara, that it's about um what was it? It's about character development, right? That's what a lot of these dumb women like to say. Um, which is so interesting. It's very telling, right? Because I have no problem with with the reason for Sutara for it to be looks, right? It's the women who try to gaslight you and say that it's not about the looks. Obviously, looks are involved, but for some reason, women will say, "Oh no, it's not about the looks," because they know that's what it is mostly, and they try to, cover it up. Right. So let's talk about Zuko's looks. Right in the beginning, he's bald. Then he has that pretty boy haircut. Right. Then, what's the other thing? Is height. Height, right? So, Aang is short equals short. Zuko equals tall, right? Zuko is taller than Katara, right? So, taller than Katara. That's biology right there. What else? Age. Another thing that you can't really, uh, you can't really alter. So Aang is younger, is young, and then Zuko is older, right? Older than Katara. So again, Zuko wins. Zuko wins age. Zuko wins height, looks. Zuko's fit, right? He's not frail, but he's also not a gym rat, right? So that's perfect female gaze. Female gaze. What else? His voice, right? Let me just put it right here. Voice, right? Women love that voice. And then the other thing, actually, back on the voice. So, Aang sounds like a little kid, right? Zuko sounds a little bit more brooding, and this goes hand in hand with the other thing I'm about to say, which is the personality, which is he's kind of introverted, right? He's kind of an introvert. You know, when he was talking to that frog, kind of rehearsing, I noticed a lot of women reactors find that endearing. You know, the innocence, the inexperience. You know, when he's like Suko here, you know, that awkwardness that the women who are in their teenage years, which is where most of these women, that's their age when they were watching this. This is the type of stuff that women like. You know, it's cute. You know, it's inoffensive. So these are the things, right? These are things that I believe is the major reason for why women pick Zutara, right? And so next, I want to talk about. Actually, let me pull this down. Next, I want to talk about. Let's just cross this. Why the things that women claim are the reasons for why they pick Zutara, right? So the first one is the cave, right? The crystal cave, right? So basically, they think that this is bonding because Katara. Holy shit! Let me draw this real quick. This is supposed to be the. What is it? The North Pole, South Pole, special healing waters, where Katara was going to heal Zuko's scar. But basically, Katara says, "Oh, the Fire Nation deleted my mom," right? And then Zuko's like, "Oh, I can relate to you. My tragic background. The Fire Nation also, you know, took out my mom." So basically, they're bonding over the grief or their past, right? Bonding over past. So literally every character in the series could say, "Oh, the Fire Nation, you know, they're the reason for why they attacked my family. They destroyed, you know, my village and stuff like that." So Aang, right? Let's not forget his entire air nomads, right? They got deleted. He probably didn't have you know, the traditional mom or dad, but his mentor was a monkey Atsu. He died trying to protect everyone. So this situation is not unique to Zuko, right? But what women like to do is they will, because Zuko is attractive, they will kind of zone out all of the bonding that every other character does, right? And they won't even count it, right? So that's number one, the Crystal Cave. Number two, it has to be, what should I call it? It's the mission where Katara wants revenge. I'm gonna call it revenge, right? So Katara's like, I need to go find the people who deleted my mom. And this is where you have the haters, right? Because Aang says, um, Aang says, you're not going to, um, what's the word? You're not going to feel better looking for revenge. And I'm actually worried that what you're going to do, Katara, right? He tells her that. Um, so, Aang warns her. He's the voice of reason, ironically, right? Because a lot of people seem to think that Aang's childish, but he has more wisdom than Katara. Katara comes off as very volatile, very, like she's on her period, very emotional. And also, at the end of the day, he was right because she does move past it, right? Like Aang suggested, right? Katara eventually realized that it wasn't going to make her feel any better. But what pisses me off in all this is that the Zutara shippers are trying to say, "Oh, see, look, um, Zuko was willing to go with her, and isn't he so supportive?" So you're trying to tell me that women's idea of bonding is when a guy doesn't question her and says, "Yeah, let's go on an assassin mission," right? Rather than what Aang did was he stood his ground. He wasn't being a simp and being like, "Oh yeah, let me go and pretend like I don't have any morals and let me just placate you," right? You're always right, Katara. That's another reason why I like Aang as the what do they call it? It's like at the end goal, right? Because Zuko in this specific episode, it shows that Zuko is only doing it because he wants Katara to trust him, right? That's the only reason why Zuko is trying to help her, right? He knows that in order to fight the Fire Lord, you guys need to work as a team, and Katara is butthurt. Obviously she blames Zuko for no reason, right? It's the most retarded thing I have ever heard. She blames Zuko for the death of her mother. So again, this is her in her manic state creating a problem that doesn't exist, that everyone is telling her doesn't exist. Aang and her brother is telling her that. And then because Zuko doesn't care and it's like, yeah, I'll just tag along, she kind of attributes that proximity as, oh, he cares about me, and women think, oh yeah, they're bonding. It's so romantic, isn't it? I mean, it's just so cringe. But like I said, Aang actually cared about her well-being, right? And then Zuko was just doing it to be like, all right, whatever, bitch. Let's just get this over with. And then the last one that I want to talk about is the lightning, right? So basically, at the end, right? Zuko and Katara face off against Azula, right? And then Azula is like, hey, let's do Agni Kai, one-on-one, me and you, Zuko. Zuko accepts. He's like, yeah, bring it on. Katara's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why'd you even bring me here? If we both fire together, it's an easy win. But then Zuko says, no, she's slipping. I can, I can do this, right? Well, we all know what happens, right? So Azula attacks Katara, and Zuko jumps in. He's like, no, slow motion. Jumps in, tanks the shot, and obviously at the end, Katara wins. But the point in all this is this, right? And this is what I mean, where you know how people say that if an ugly guy looks at a girl, he's being creepy, but if an attractive guy does the exact same thing and just looks at a girl, he's flirting. Um, this is in play right now. Uh, and all of the reactors who try to talk about Zutara always point this out. Okay, they're like, "Isn't it so romantic that Zuko jumped in front of the lightning to save her?" This crazy bitch had the audacity to claim that that trope of jumping in front is only in between lovers. Um, and but it's just so dumb because she was like, uh, what's his name, Sokka. She was like, yeah, Sokka, it would be weird if Sokka jumped in front of her, right? I'm like, bitch, are you crazy? If I had a family member, I would definitely jump in front to save them, right? It's not just a romantic, it's platonic, right? It's like you're telling me that if someone was in danger, you wouldn't try to step in to help them? Come on. So yeah, I 100% believe that if Toph or Sokka was in Zuko's position, they would both jump in, right? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this last point really exposes, does a beautiful job of exposing these dumb women, right? So when Zuko does it, he's brave, right? He's brave. He's protective, right? So basically, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to fight one-on-one, so you don't have to get hurt, right? But when Aang would do it, right? If Aang would have done this, I know Aang's double N. If Aang would have done this, they would have said, "Oh, you really think you're him?" And look what happened. It backfired. You got her hurt for no reason, right? You put her in danger for no reason. You're so stupid. They would be cooking Aang, right? They'd be like, "Oh, you're so selfish, you know, and you're so dumb because why would you bring Katara and risk her life for no reason?" Right? So this is the parallels, the dichotomy, right? The difference of someone who's attractive and someone who's not attractive in their eyes. And then women will build upon that, right? Oh, you're attractive? Let's give you positive attributes. You're this, you're brave, you're protective. If it was Aang, which he's not, they don't find them attractive, then they would have said, oh yeah, you're you're narcissistic. Why would you even make this dumb decision? So that's all I have to say about that. And also one last thing is, at the end of the day, right? Zuko never pursued Katara, right? That's the funny part in all this, is that Zuko, not once did he make a move or try to show his intent. He never showed interest in Katara. He never tried to move things forward. It was always team building. It was always a means to an end. So yeah, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm sure there's other stuff that I want to say, but I really wanted to give you guys a reaction for some of the videos that these dumb women upload. But as I'm watching it, I would have had to stop it every other sentence because they are constantly contradicting themselves and they're constantly bringing up irrelevant stuff, right? Like sometimes they'll be like, oh, you know, I made this decision, right? I like Zutara because it closely resembles enemies to lovers tropes, and it closely it's like The Notebook, or they'll give explanations to other media, other works. And I'm like, yeah, but just because it's a trope doesn't mean it was done correctly, right? That's the thing is where they're like, oh, really, whether or not you pick Zutara or Katang, it's just your taste in trope, right? Whether you like enemies to lovers or whether you like, something more wholesome, let's say, right? That I completely disagree because the trope is irrelevant. She's kind of like being like, oh, it's just your taste. No, it's I'm down with anything as long as it's done correctly. And this is my final take, right? This is my final conclusion, and it's never changed. Not now, and not way back when it first aired on Nickelodeon. Um, is that when I saw the kiss at the end, I also thought it was weird. It was underdeveloped. The character development wasn't there, or at least, and and I was okay with it because at the end of the day, it was it was focusing more on other things like the it has one of the best endings, but dang, what was I gonna say? So yeah, like at the end, the kiss was weird. The relationship between Katara and Aang isn't perfect. Um, but even with all the flaws, it's still better than Zutara, right? Because Zutara has no substance, zero foundation. Um, there's nothing there, right? And women will point out, oh yeah, Katara and Aang, they're fighting and they're never on the same page, and all this shit. But at the end of the day, even as underdeveloped as it is, it's just leagues better than what Sutara is, right? So yeah, that I feel like that's all I have to say on that.